All right, want to welcome everybody to the new Olé Soccer Podcast with Terry Ransbury here. We're excited to have you. We're excited to hear your story. I want to welcome everybody back, whether this is the first time you're joining us or if this is you returning and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening, watching, whether you're taking a walk around the park, around your block, at your home. We hope that you find value in what we're going to talk about today. So Terry, welcome. How are you?
Walter, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So a little backstory about AS. I actually heard about AS and I heard about your story, Terry, a few years back. I want to say 3 to 4 years back or so, on the 343 podcast. And then I was super intrigued, about why you do what you do, how the first school started. And we'll get into that, but I heard about it, and I think 343 Podcast is still working with AS to promote AS, so that's a very good thing. And so I just happened to go online and researched, and at the time I believe there was only one location in North Carolina, and now we'll talk about there's more all over the country. So excited to hear about the story, but it's briefly how I got to know about AS and about you. And then slowly but surely, I don't know how this happened, but somehow Joe, mutual friend Joe, started working with AS here in Orange County, where close to where I live. And then he had great things to say about you. I didn't know you as a person or even knew what you looked like, to be honest, Terry. And then I finally got to meet you at the convention this past January, and we met up and we talked, and it was great to connect. So fast forward, now you're expanding and so forth, but I want to start where this started for you as a parent, you as a co-founder of AS. I want to start back. So how did you get into the game, soccer? Did you grow up playing? Like, what is your backstory on the game?
Sure. So I've got two sons that play soccer, or played. One played and one plays. And I did not play, and I regret not playing. And that's a story we won't go into, but I was a track athlete instead. And I had a really negative club experience with my older son. He was on the bronze team, and I really am against gold, silver, bronze type ranking of the teams, especially at the youth level. But he couldn't, as he got older, nobody really wanted to coach the third team of the, 13, 14-year-olds. And he was a keeper, and he had potential to be a decent keeper, but his experience was so bad that I felt that I needed to pay more attention and make sure that my younger son didn't have the same negative experience. So that was one aspect that caused me to get into the game. And then for those of your people in your audience, the game, and the game is very compelling, and they do so much right. And it's easy to fall in love with the game, which I did. And then the other factor that led us to start the school really had to do with my middle child. It was my daughter, and she's a ballet dancer, and she's doing it now professionally in Dallas-Fort Worth area. But at the time, I could not get her out of phys ed class in high school, in public school. And she was having to wake up early, and they start much earlier than we do, and I think against what research says. But it was a problem. And so she had been at a gymnastics program here in North Carolina that was very good, and they did a school just like we do. And I kind of watched one happen, and then I'm an entrepreneur by nature, and my risk tolerance, maybe my wife would tell you, is crazy, but I'm very trigger happy to start things and see how it goes. So started a ballet school first, and at the time we had 7, I think, girls, and we did it in the studio, and it worked. And at the time, the Duke University men's coach, John Kerr, was coaching my younger son, and he and I are good friends, and he said, I always wanted to do one. Would you do one? And so my nature is, sure. So that's how it really started. And we started in Raleigh in 2016 with 16 students, one girl, and she was the first really one to sign up. And she's going to be on a full ride to Duke University. So it's a great story for her. But that's how we started back in 2016. And now we've since expanded. We had a school in DC. We've got an affiliate school in Spain where my son went at age 15. He's 18 now. He's still there. And that was a part of the story we'll tell later.
Yeah.
And then we opened Houston and Orange County this year in our first year. So we're at that many schools, and I've got ambition to do more. We just want to make sure that the quality's there, because we're not just a soccer school, we're a multi-sport school, but we're heavily invested in making sure the quality of their education is as good as the soccer offering.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That's good. So tell us a little bit more about AS, Accelerator School. So obviously abbreviation AS stands for Accelerator School. So the mission and the why behind AS was to offer what exactly, right? Like what's the mission?
The name was chosen on purpose. We're trying to accelerate player development because we believe that we're behind our international counterparts, and I think the evidence is pretty clear. And so we wanted to increase the training time that the players are getting in order to accelerate their progress and try and our goal is to catch a few of them up with the soccer first nations that we're competing against, and we're frankly not doing as well as I would like us to do.
So so definitely, like any entrepreneur, you're trying to solve a problem, right? So solving that problem of getting more and more players dedicated to playing more, training more, being exposed to higher level, you could say coaching as well, that will speed up their development. And how many, can you tell us a little bit more about like the school structure for the soccer aspect of it? How often do they train? What days do they train? Hours roughly? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, so we train 5 days a week in the morning, and we start late. We believe sleep is important, so we don't start until 9 o'clock. And we do an hour and a half of training, and we monitor the energy level of the players, and we respect their game schedule. So let's say if they're coming back late from a tournament on Sunday night, we go very easy on Monday. Monday's usually a lighter day, but we want to challenge them maybe a little more intellectually than physically. And then on the other end of the spectrum on Friday, if they've got a big tournament or game set coming up, we want to, again, go more intellectual and a little less physical. But in between, we're trying to improve their fitness and their soccer knowledge. And we're doing two things. We're trying to work with their coaches and customize the program to what the coaches don't have time to give them in their regular team training with their club. And some of it is positional instruction. Some of it is very tactical and things where, we're trying to maximize the time to improve the player for the club. We're club neutral. We don't play games. We're just there to supplement. We also do some fitness training, usually on Tuesdays. We'll bring in a certified fitness trainer and kind of work on that aspect too. And then we also try to emphasize situational play that's as much as possible opposed with defenders. Or if we're defending, we're defending attackers. We try and rely less on cone work. We just don't, our philosophy is not consistent with unopposed training. So we're trying to build that in. We're a full school year. We do take a break where we do an international trip. We'll hope to talk about that too later. But and then to anticipate a question, in the years we've operated, I can tell you safely that we have not burned out any athlete by overtraining. We're smart about it, but still, I can tell you back from the original founding of the company, my ballet dancer daughter works out harder than any soccer player on the planet. They put in maybe too much time. So until she burns out, I'm not really worried about the soccer players.
It's funny you say that because we ran a camp in the winter. I would say like a futsal camp, like a three-day camp here locally where I live. And there was a futsal court we were using, but there was a space towards the front part of the warehouse, you could say, that had a carpet, and I was like, I don't know what they're gonna do there. I had no idea, right? And all of a sudden, towards the last maybe hour of our camp, I see 10, 15 teenage girls come in, and then some instructors come in, and then they start doing a routine and warm up. And then I was just like blown away with the intensity and the amount of reps and like just the body work that they do, right? They do a lot of sit-ups, they do a lot of leg works, leg raise, they do a lot of like, I was just super impressed with the intensity. And then, I was just like, whoa, like that look, if I would try that, I would be burning. I would be burning. So I get what you're saying with that. So yeah, that's massive. So that's great that she's still involved. And are you still, do you still have that ballet school there in North Carolina?
No, in fact, I haven't checked on it lately, but I moved on to the soccer and left that to the dancer company.
Yeah.
And it's an area where I really don't know much about dancing. I'm a parent that watches, and my daughter's now good where I don't worry about her messing up anymore. I can enjoy it. I still can't watch anybody else but her on stage, but so it's not my area of expertise, and so time much better spent on the soccer part of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about AS, and let's talk about the expansion part. Is it a franchise? Is it something that somebody can get involved with and say, you know what, Terry, hey, I really love this mission. I live in Seattle, right? Let's say Seattle, and I would love to start an AS school here. Like, is that something that AS does? Is that something that you're looking for? Like, explain to us, who you're looking for to potentially partner up with to expand AS throughout the nation.
And I'm interested in doing that, again, with the emphasis on maintaining quality and not just to expand to increase the numbers. I think that's risky. I think if your reputation gets tarnished, it's very hard to recover from. So as many people will tell you, the most important thing you can do is find quality people. And so there's a couple of skill sets that I'm interested in. And anybody that's listening, if you think that you fulfill one of these roles, let me know and we'll talk about it. But I'm looking for passionate educators, for one thing. And whether they be coaches or teachers in the classroom, the passion's got to be there. It's got to match ours that exists already, because if you find those people, you can do wonderful things with that type of personality. So the school and the soccer training are separate entities, but are coordinated into one school. And so there's a school administrator role that oversees kind of the local business and reports to us as a Accelerator School operations company. And we try and find those people, and then we hire the staff out, and we pick the coaches, and we pick the teachers, and we have the curriculum. And so it's kind of like a franchise. To be totally specific on the business sense, it's not exactly. There's reasons for that, and that are really not important to your audience. But if people thought of it as a franchise, it would be consistent with what we're looking for. And the places we're looking for are hotbeds of soccer talent, where there are passionate players that aspire to be professionals. And we know the odds are small, but it's not our job to crush those. It's our job to maximize the chance in the one of many roles that are important to make that happen. But while everybody tells you that's plan A, we know plan B, which is a solid education, is going to someday be the road when either you decide to give up the game because you're done, or whether you're just not welcome anymore, and it's very subjective at certain levels, as you know, or if you're injured and then your career is over, and now you have to move on to something else that you're going to do probably a lot longer than you're going to do soccer. And in our culture, education is a foundation for succeeding in those plan Bs.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there, let's say, for anyone listening, and thank you for sharing that, is there a specific, I know you said you're looking for, a specific city or town that's a hotbed for talent. Is there a specific market that you're really trying to get into right now, that, and for anyone that is listening, that they can maybe share, like what areas of the US are you looking to really get into specifically, like targets?
Okay. Off the top of my head,
share that.
The Bay Area in California, San Diego, maybe another school in LA, Austin, Texas, Dallas, Miami, Chicago, Boston, New York,
Wow. Yeah.
Seattle,
Wow.
all of the, and I'm missing, there is good soccer everywhere in the
Mhm.
US, and I wouldn't rule out any place. There are some things that make it a little more difficult than you might think.
Mhm.
One, we're compressing the school day, and so there's not time to transport kids from, let's say, the pitch to a shower facility to a classroom. So when you have to combine those three elements into one location, it surprisingly weeds out a lot of places that maybe you've gone to as a soccer tournament and you would think, oh, this would be a great place to have a school. Well, if you don't have those other two components, it's not a great place. And I can tell you in Miami, especially, we would love there. We got a great guy that I want to run the program, but the number of facilities that actually meet that criteria are surprisingly few. And I think there's only two that I know of. And I've talked to my guy there, and he's looked very carefully for a couple of years now. And so it's not as easy as you think. Most places don't have classroom spaces that have nice fields, and maybe they do or do not have locker rooms. So it's more of finding the facility to go with those great people that limits how many we could do. And then just bandwidth, and it takes money to start. And I'd certainly be looking for investors that wanted to help us start more schools.
Yeah.
Right now we're organically growing them and self-funding them, but it's a limit of how much bandwidth and how much money that we have to do that.
Understood. No, that's great. That's great. So now let's kind of change the conversation to players, and I want to change the conversation to families, right? And parents that are listening and that are just intrigued, like, what is AS? How can I get my kid involved in AS if they do offer a school in my area, right? What type of families are you looking to attract? I know you said soccer families, families that have aspiring goals to play at the next level. Like, what type of families are you normally attracting in your schools in North Carolina, in Texas, in California right now?
We've got for almost everybody I can think of, we've got really great parents. And for those that would take what used to be more of a risk, but now we're in year 7 in Raleigh, and I think we've got the recipe down pretty well. In places that are new, we show up and we don't have a track record locally. So the parents have to have a little bit of faith and risk tolerance, maybe not the degree I have, but they've got to believe. And a lot of times, we show them, well, the classroom's going to be here, and the first year it's not up running. And once it's running, the parents that want to come in for years 2 or beyond, they can at least visit and see it in action, and it's more real. So it takes a certain mindset certain mindset of the parents, I should say, to start a location. And then they've got to realize that there is a way to balance that passion of being the best soccer football player they can be, and knowing that career is finite, and that the education shouldn't be sacrificed. You shouldn't have to choose. So the parents that realize that there's the opportunity to do both are the ones that are attracted to us and can do that. Now, it's private school, and so it's not cheap. We do have scholarship money available in most locations, and we utilized a lot of it in Orange County to try and build the quality of play and training so that we attract better players. Because it's really for the passionate player that is traveling a lot with their club. They're going to tournaments, and they leave on Fridays and they get back late on Sunday. And just to go back to, what we do is we want them to sleep in, and then in a lot of schools, and, it's not that they wouldn't want to do this, but they just can't because of the numbers, say in public school. They can't give you that day off to rest and recover. And if you've got a test on Monday, you're taking the test at a disadvantage if you have to do it. And so we control the school day and the school calendar, so we can extend the year a little bit. And then we've got an online component of our school, and it's not exclusively online because we don't believe in that, but you can take your laptop and you can be doing school while you're downtime at a tournament. It's easier said than done, but there's opportunity to do that because as we have a hashtag, my classroom travels with me for a reason. And we're trying to support that kind of player and that kind of family that is investing in their son or daughter's soccer career where they're going traveling, maybe too much. It's a philosophical question for the US. We suffer a little bit about this huge geography that we want to maximize the competition level for our players. And so it's the way it is. So those families that are already supporting that player in that manner are very good candidates for our school.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, it makes sense because there's a lot of families that are looking for something similar to what you're offering, right? And like I said, most don't maybe have never heard of AS, right? And
we're trying to improve on our marketing. It's
no, that's okay.
And things, and it's really our weakest link right now. We're trying to do that and get us more awareness in each of the places where we have schools. And then when we try and start a new one, obviously getting that critical mass to get 15 or 16 students that make it economically viable to start the school is not easy without a good social media campaign and things like this. So I'm very appreciative of you, Walter, having me on and having the ability to spread our word this way.
Of course, no, and I've been to the Orange County school with Coach Joe Pahanich, and I've been fortunate enough just to be there and run sessions with him and see it, and I see the benefit in it, because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've been on the field. I see the kids. They show up. They're running to the field. They're happy to be there. They're excited to be there. I think that's a huge component.
It is. And let me interrupt you there. We do a survey all the time with the kids, and we say, "Would you go back to your old school?" And they never say yes, they would go back. So, and our parent satisfaction is really good. Our retention is good. And that's just because of the quality of people we have. And I can't tell you how happy we are with Joe. You've got a fantastic person that happens to coach soccer and coach well. And he's well regarded in his, training technique. He's does a lot of private training, as it happens frequently in SoCal there. But he's just not only a good guy, he fits our philosophy of what we want to teach the kids on the pitch and to be, better people. Yeah. And we supplement that with our teachers, there, and we again want to maintain that balance at all cost of not sacrificing your education for soccer and not sacrificing the other way around. So, that's, now you can continue on there.
Yeah, no, I think that's important as well, because, just having a soccer school, having a school that offers soccer and, formal education is important, but the people that actually run the soccer aspect, they got to know what they're doing. So I know you're hiring professionals and people like Joe, obviously in Orange County. I'm sure you have someone very good as well in Houston and Raleigh. So, that the quality of coaching and teaching is super important. And that's how I think you're going to be able to attract more and more families that are interested, because it's not just going to be a volunteer, parent that steps in and say, "Hey, I'm part of the school, come and just train, and we're going to do random things." Like, you're hiring professionals that have experience coaching at probably multiple ages, and that know what they're doing, have a set curriculum, and have a plan for these players, right? So I think that's a key thing that parents need to also understand, that it's not just them just showing up and playing. It's like, okay, there's a plan, there's a method to the madness, right?
We have methodology that's coordinated. We have a coordinator. His name is Mariano. I don't know if you've met Mariano or not yet, but you will.
Through social, yeah, we've connected, but not in person yet.
Right. He's going to be out there, by the way, next week. So you should definitely meet him. Yeah. So he's coordinated. But let me just brag a little bit about some of our coaches that are in our group. So John Kerr is the Duke University men's coach. He was co-founder with me with the school. We've got Bruce Murray up in DC. He's again, Hall of Famer, U.S. men's national team, scored a goal in the World Cup. We've got Dario Bros just joined us in Raleigh, again, former U.S. national team player, played over in Europe. Joe, we're thrilled about there. So just the quality of the people, and I don't mean to forget some of the others that are contributing, but it's easy to attract quality because of what we're doing. They buy into it and they want to help, and they want to contribute, and they want to kind of give back in a way, to use a kind of a trite expression, but it's true. And then on the teacher side, we've got an education coordinator, and she's, probably our superstar of the organization, Jackie. She'll listen to this soon, but she knows it, and we say it all the time because she deserves it. And so, again, we have that balance of attracting our teachers. They don't have that kind of national team resume, but they're passionate educators who care about the kids. And to circle back to your families, one of the things that we do, I think, very well is we have a relationship with the student and the families, and there's a lot of support and communication that keeps the parents up to date on progress of their student. And they'll see the progress on the pitch. We see the kids move up within their club, different levels of club play or team play within the club, but in the school we see the progress. We do some standardized testing just to kind of get a measurement. But the reason why I think our success is good in the classroom, and we've had our first wave of graduates are passing through. So we've got a student at Duke. We just had a full ride at Lehigh, which was both academic and soccer related. And we're getting into colleges of their choice, and good ones. And so this is, that communication and support comes with the curriculum we use. Part of it's built into the online, but we have other two mandatory things. And this is true over in Spain as well. You have to have a teacher in the classroom. It can't be unsupervised by a non-professional or supervised by a non-teacher. We don't think so. Not in the best interest. And then you have to have the support that comes with the teachers, but also that observer, and we call it an advocate. We have one for the soccer relationship and one for the academic relationship that takes the side of the student, and we're trying to assess, how they're doing, and when there's a problem, we try and intervene immediately. We want to communicate with the family and just check whether it's we see, sluggish training on the pitch, or we see somebody falling behind, and we want to intervene right away, and we want to remedy the problem and not wait until the end of the semester with a big final and the student does poorly and we've failed your student for a semester. We want to catch that problem early. There's a lot of measures of gates that they have to go through, both on the pitch and academically. And that's all coordinated through the top level so that we maintain a consistent education. And it allows our students, say, to go to Spain and knowing that they're going to get the same exact education there as they're getting in their hometown, say in Orange County. And it's seamless and they're used to it, and there's no disruption, and it allows us to offer that ability to play internationally on a pro pathway or visit for an extended period of time before you're ready to commit to a 10-month program.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, Terry. So right before we talk about that, this is a question I have in my mind. Let's say if I was a parent listening, what's the youngest age that you start accepting players for the schools? Is there a certain age?
Middle
what
school.
Is that?
Yeah, we tried. The problem with 4th and 5th grade is that they're very different, and the teachers taught me that, and I appreciate it now. And you have to have a lot of students to support getting a teacher to do those grades. But at middle school, we think that's the starting point that we like for a couple of reasons. One, it gives the soccer coaches more time to develop those players. Mm-hmm. So we do middle school and high school, and we'll take. It's rare we get a senior to transfer in. They usually want to complete their high school at their current place, and there's social aspects of it too that are a draw. And we lose some kids in the later years of high school because they want to be in they want to play for their high school team, and they want all the social aspect of it, but we're aware of that, and we try things to get social aspects into our school. And this is kind of the moms worry about this all the time. The dads don't seem to think about it up front, at least anyways. But the moms worry about, are we going to have prom and things like that? And we were concerned about that too, but it's working out this way. They still play with their club, and their friends are their soccer mates. And so they don't lose those just because they go to a different school, because some of them go to different schools anyways. Yeah. So we get the kids that they get invited to the proms and the socials and the football games and school activities. So while we worried about it, it turned out to be less of a problem than we thought at first. And so while the moms worry about it, it actually works out. And then just a little more detail on the school. We group the high schoolers and the middle schoolers separately, because the middle schoolers make a lot more noise. To be perfectly honest, they just do, and we have more teaching interaction, less online. Their high school is much more online and one-on-one support when there's trouble, and we monitor all the time. We know exactly when they're having trouble on certain aspects, or they'll come and ask. So we do that separately. But long answer to your question, middle schoolers are our target audience, and we want them to graduate up through with us. And we've got guidance counseling services. We're trying to enhance our soccer recruiting services. Now we're looking at bringing on another person who's, again, a very high level soccer player, and I can't name him yet because it's not a done deal.
Got it. No, that's great. I like to hear that. And I think parents are I hope they're intrigued, or at least want to know more about this. But I know you mentioned international trips to Spain. So you're saying that everybody in the school has an opportunity to go to Spain and train in Spain. Like, what does that look like, and why do you feel that's important for players here in your schools to experience that?
So just to be clear, two different avenues there. One, we have the option, if you want to do an extended period over in Spain. We're affiliated with FC Malaga City. And again, my son is in a gap year program over there. So the COVID kind of clogged up the college rosters with extra years and a lot of older players. So the 2003s and 4s, my son was in 04, we strongly recommend a gap year to kind of let the rosters flush out a little bit. And then so you can mature a little bit if you can keep training, which is not easy, but keep your training level up so that you have a chance to play more when you first enter college, maybe as a year later or whatever. So over in Spain, it's a full academy for high schoolers. It's done on a student visa. They have to take intensive Spanish, which side benefit, my son is fluent in Spanish, international traveler, starting at age 15. And then, what they do really well is they play friendlies, because they're at the academy level, high school, and they get to play, I think I counted 13 out of the 20 La Liga academies in Spain, which is, again, very difficult to do if you wanted to. And, we go in and they level the playing. We don't play their same age A group, because we're not on their level by any stretch. But they get to play maybe a year down, or the B level, and you get really calibrated as to where you stand against guys that are on the pro pathway for sure, over in Spain in this case. So that's one option we try and do. We're trying to evolve the program so you can go for, let's say, a month or 3 months before you commit to the 10-month full program. It's a lot. And, it was a really difficult decision at 15 years old for my wife and I to send our youngest kid over that distance. But they have video streaming. We get to see him play. And so in hindsight now, it was the greatest decision we've ever made. And it was part his, and that worked. So that's one thing. The other thing we're talking about is,
sorry to cut you off, Terry.
Yep.
So that's just for boys at the moment, right?
No, they have a Femenino program over there. And
okay.
So the Femenino doesn't have an academy yet. They're working on developing that, but they have a first team that's into the promotion relegation. And I honestly don't remember whether they're in 4th division to 3rd, or whether they're in 3rd trying to get to 2nd this year. I'm not sure, but The boys' side has got two first teams, and they inherited one on the province border. One plays in the Granada province, one plays in the Malaga province, I think, is the designation. So they have two first teams that are senior teams. My son plays for one of them. And again, it's, don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's so valuable that I have to. They're into promotion relegation there. And he's the better of the two teams that he doesn't play for is, I think it's, and I'd like to be accurate on this. I want to say it's Tercera, which is no longer third because they've added leagues. And just like most federations, you have to have a PhD to keep up to the levels that they change. But my other son's playing in a much lower division, but and I want to say it's 8th division or so. But the promotion relegation part of it is real. And he's experiencing that. And he's watching the table. He walked by, he's home now, he's injured, he's rehabbing. But he looks at the table, and every game there, how many points out of promotion are we, or we're fighting relegation, whole nother topic, but fantastic experience for him to do that. And as American, you don't get that unless you go overseas. Yeah. So we could have a whole nother podcast on that. And I talk about that with Gary at 3 for 3. But back to the other situation is international trips, which we offer every year. We've gone since 2016. We go for 10 days or 13 days, depending on where we're going. And we've been to Argentina, Uruguay, Spain, England, and we're going to add Portugal this year, our first time. It's coming up the first 10 days of April. And our goal there is to not do the touristy ones that, a lot of us have been on, and they're great. The companies that do that, they're fun, and they all advertise as once in a lifetime. We try and do it once a year, and repeat if and it's optional for the families that want to go. We don't make it mandatory. And what we're trying to do there is we'll see some pro games, and we might do a stadium tour once. We try not to do those. Those are for another purpose. We're there to expose the kids to a level of soccer that calibrates them as to really, where do I stand on the world stage? I may be the best guy on my club in SoCal, which means you're a pretty good player, but how do I stack up against, somebody over in Spain and we try and play, we do two things that I think are also unique. We try and play games over there against very talented teams and really stress ourselves a little bit. I can tell you the academy does that superbly. And they'll play 89 minutes of defense sometimes. We played Atletico Madrid one year and it was crazy. But we also try and integrate our students onto the club training, and as opposed to just taking their coach and training us. We do that too, and we do kind of 2 a days. And the other part is integrate them in so that they get the kid and they're training with the regulars, and it's because of our coaching relationship that we can do that. And it's very special. And it's a different level to see. Now I'm not just coached by the coach. I'm immersed in the training, and every drill we're doing, I'm doing with talented people. The ball's coming in nice. It's coming in hard. It's coming to my correct foot, I should say. And I need to reciprocate and deliver that level of intensity. And sometimes our kids are not ready for that. Yeah. And then, I'll tell you another, it was funny to me at the time, but we get into the scrimmage game and we're at halftime, and the coach is their coach. And he's like, "You Americans do not know how to foul." And he's like, and he's yelling, "Falta, falta, falta," to try and, stem the counter. And our kids are just not used to that. And I just have an amusing thought of, listen, if that guy were to guest coach over in the US at the youth level, what the parents would say to that guy when he's actually calling for foul intentionally. But that's part of the game, and that's exactly part of the reason we go to learn about that.
Yeah. There's definitely layers of understanding of the game that many of us still are trying to understand, right?
Sorry to pile on, but we go to the small towns, and you go to their and they're playing. We try and also expose them to not just La Liga and that, because that's, again, for very few people. But you go and see the local clubs, and they're playing, say, third division, and it's excellent
Yeah.
football. And it's a little different. It's not quite as elegant and it's not quite as smooth, but they're passionate. And you go to the stadiums and they hold anywhere. We were in Scotland one time and we went to this place that held 4,000 seats, but there were very few people there. But when it's packed at 4,000 or 5,000, and the intensity and that spirit that you have, it's their local team, and they hate the other team, and they're playing, to talk about this game until the next one, next weekend. And it's just a beautiful thing to see, and something that again, until you're there, it's really hard to take my word for it, but it's worth the money to go and just immerse yourself in that environment. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I'm happy that you're able even to offer that experience. And can parents also join the trips with their kids?
Yes, and they do. And we have a little more social aspect of it. We do more parent activities, and we've gone to a winery in Uruguay that was very good, and then we'll go to pro games and they can go to that, and then we'll have some touristy activity while the kids are training. But I can tell you, the parents all have this, they want to go see what it's all about, and they watch training anyways. But we do that, and we welcome the parents. The parents have had a good time, and we like it, and they can see also firsthand what it's like. And I'll tell you, when we go to Argentina and you get in, I swear you open the door to the car or the bus in the parking lot, and you can feel this energy that's there that is not everywhere. And it may be bad in some cases because, there's pressure on an 8-year-old to get their family that has lived in poverty forever to make it.
Yeah.
But it's real, and you have to deal with it, and you have to perform, and they handle it. I mean, some don't. I'm sure there's some bad about it, and that's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is. And you go there and you step out of the car and you're like, oh, something's different here. And it's so tangible, and yet it's unstated. And you go and you get in that environment, and it changes you. And some kids will look back later and say, it changed my life as far as soccer. And then some, it'll change and it kind of wears off, and then we have to go back again and reinforce it. And we do, but I can tell you it's real.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. Because I say this all the time, I even try to remind myself, we all live in a bubble, right? We all live in a bubble. Like I'm in the SoCal bubble. There's people that are in their own little bubble, and even the LA County's little bubble compared to Orange County, that's all another bubble. So the more we were able to think internationally about the game, the more we're able to understand the levels of training, of intensity, of culture, of playing against different styles, even different levels of coaching that you come up against. I think the better that we're going to expose these players growing up now, with opportunities, let's say with AS,
or you can even save a lot of money. I know in almost every soccer hotbed, and you're in certainly maybe the best of the United States in SoCal. No offense to anybody else, but it's just the way it is. You can save a lot of money and get the same exact exposure if you would just go to see some of the leagues that are not LAFC and Galaxy and Strikers, and it's there. And usually it's, in our case in North Carolina and Raleigh, we have a strong Mexican soccer population. You have to go out of your way to find them. They're there, but you can see some very interesting soccer dynamics. The quality of play is very good. The atmosphere is this beautiful mix of tense, almost everything's a rivalry, yet they're having a good time. And they'll bring food and party and there's music, and if you're doing yourself a disservice, and I know you have it in SoCal too. It's just you have to make a little bit of an effort to find it, but do it and get that exposure and see what some of these soccer first cultures is, my friend Gary likes to say, what they're all about, and enjoy that experience and see it's an event on Saturday or Sunday for them, and it's a beautiful thing. And you can, sometimes you can get you can get in those games and get your player into those games. And again,
Yeah.
valuable experience that, if you don't do it, you're missing, and it's
Yeah.
there for the taking.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think having players play against different type of profiles is important, different type of
Style of play.
languages,
Yeah.
skills, all of that, I know I can speak for, LA, just there's a hotbed of, different types of teams even that get together. You have Croatians that get together that are so super good, like really, really good, right?
Yeah.
You have the Armenian population's big here as well. So they put teams together and they start playing. So I think as kids start to get older, I think probably more in their performance years, I'd say mid-teens or so, I think it's important we talk about, exposure, different cultures. You got to get into these leagues where you're playing against different type of cultures and even teams and the different styles that they bring, right? Where they're even speaking sometimes, their native language, and then you're playing against them and you can't really understand, but you have to figure it out, right?
Yep.
And you have to work with the players around, and you have to perform because the quality of play is very high, right? And I've been in there, and it's just
very high. Yep.
you just got to be in there, and you got to deal with it, right? And it comes just down to performing, and being immersed in that. And the more
Sure.
that players and families are able to do that, locally, if you can't find it, maybe, if you're a parent listening, you got to try your best to connect with other people that can put you in those type of environments, right?
Yeah. And there's some healthy tension that's associated with that too. You go in and let's say the other team's all speaking Spanish and you don't understand it, and you're nervous, but that's part of the sport. And if you're going to achieve at a high level, you're going to be in those situations where you're going to be uncomfortable. And then how do you perform under stress? And this is where this makes you a better player.
Yeah.
And so it's worth doing even for that, and just to get used to, high pressure situations, for different reasons, because if you're gonna succeed at the highest level, you're going to experience that, and you need to pay your dues. I mean, there's just, and the first time you do it and you mess up and you kind of succumb to the pressure, it's okay. It's learning. You grow and you're a better player as soon as you realize that you learned something.
Yeah, of course. I want to talk from a parent's point of view here and ask you a question about your experience with your youngest traveling to Spain. You as a parent, how much have you seen? You talked about it briefly, but how much have you seen your son grow just from the difference of leaving the US to now just being in Spain? Like, I want to ask you what you have seen as a parent, from your kid's trajectory from 15 and up.
Yep. It's been, in a word, wonderful. And here's why. So again, tough decision at 15. So he was a sophomore in high school, and I don't think I'd recommend it earlier than freshman year. And only in, they have it, you got to be a special person and a special family to do that that young. So it's somewhere around that line. But benefits, he's got friends all over the world, and when you travel internationally, it's one of the best things I do in my life with my family, and is travel. And it's expensive, but every time we come back, I can say it was worth the money. So here's a chance for my son to touch base with those people that he met and played with sometime later on, and he's got a buddy in Croatia, and he can go visit, and it just helps. It's a beautiful benefit. One, also, he's fluent in Spanish. And, one of my biggest regrets, I don't know enough Spanish. I sound like a 2-year-old at best. And that's given me on a good day. But he's fluent already, and he knows the different dialects. And so not just textbook, learn it in school, but live it. They coach in English pretty much over there, but he lives in Spain. So that's a benefit. He travels internationally by himself. And I'll tell you one little story. We had to change his flight one time to come back, and we were arranging it for him this time, and we didn't realize that there was a change of airports in France, in Paris. So he calls us up in the middle of the night and says, by the way, I need to transfer from Charles de Gaulle to Orly Airport, and I'm not really sure how to do that. He had stuff, he figured it out, and he did that. And that's a tough situation for an adult, much less a kid. And he handled it well, and it worked out. And so now there's almost nothing that could happen travel wise that's going to be as stressful as that. And so he's an experienced traveler. And then they play over there against, he's been to La Masia a couple of times. He's been to Atletico Madrid. He's Malaga, Sevilla, Cadiz, and again, 13 out of 20. But he's also played up in the UK. They went to Man City, and they went to Norwich, and they went to PSG in Paris and played. So he's, again, they're on a little bit tighter budget than I would like, because I'd like them to experience more culturally when they go to visit. But they have to stay in hostels, and they're in and out just because of budget. But he gets to see the places and experience that. And again, all through the gift of soccer, football. And it's just a fantastic thing that, I wouldn't have done it with a blank sheet of paper this well. So thanks to all the people that are in that network and do what they do. And it's just a case where before he got out of high school, he was an accomplished international traveler with, again, the confidence to do it. And he's got no inhibition now, other than finances, of traveling places in the world with confidence that he's going to have, language barrier issues and lost luggage and inefficiencies of traveling, but it's when you do it, again, it's money. My best money spent is on travel. I learn meet people, see what they eat and they drink. And I love their culture and the stories. And then through the games and the soccer community, you go to the games, you experience what it's like to be a fan. Once I got kind of caught up in the ultra section, which was unusual and interesting experience, but excellent, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good, because I think there's a lot of parents listening that maybe don't even know where to start, right? And I think maybe for those listening, definitely connecting with you, Terry, and AS to see how you can do it now that you have a method to the madness of connecting, of networking even. It's a bridge, right? And I think AS can be a great bridge for many families that want to put soccer as high in regard, the priorities as school, right? They go hand in hand. Like you said, plan A isn't always plan A, but plan B sometimes becomes plan A, right? When it comes to education and soccer.
And COVID really tested us on the education front, and we, to make a silver lining on a really bad thing, we did well, and because that's kind of what we did before. And so a lot of the schools had trouble with the online aspect and not being able to meet in person, and they struggled mightily because they weren't set up for it. We just happened to be, but we believe that, this really stems from the moms that were courageous and did the homeschooling back, let's say 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. They paved the way for, I think, some market dynamics that have improved education, and the quality of options available to homeschoolers is breathtaking. And it's all because it started by those courageous parents that wanted to do something better. And now it's pretty easy, and we think this is the way to do education, and everything's trending towards this type of education. The materials, the instruction's fresh, and it's refurbished at a faster rate. And then, while there's a balance of some of the lessons are recorded, and that professor is never tired, the delivery is always consistent, and yet you still need that human aspect of what's the relationship going on with the student right now? How is their mindset? How's their fatigue level? How's their academic load? Are they, procrastinators? To what level? Me being a really bad one. But again, having that relationship, and as our education coordinator would say, learning really doesn't happen without that relationship building. And that's something that I can't say we consciously set out to do that, but we've either evolved or stumbled on it. And now it's fundamental to what we do, and we couldn't replace it for anything.
Absolutely. I agree. That's good. That's good. I want to, one advice, one tip that you would give to entrepreneurs like yourself that maybe are watching and say, you know what, this is inspiring. I want to start my own school, or I want to somehow, start my own project. What advice would you give to any entrepreneurs that, or maybe players that want to be entrepreneurs, right? That is maybe their plan A. What advice would you give, from your experience to them?
Please talk to me first. I can save you a lot of trouble. And as one soccer director told me, he said, if you screw up a kid's soccer career, that's bad. But if you screw up their education, that's unforgivable. So, and it took a long time for that person to endorse us until he saw that we actually were going to succeed and do well. And now he's an advocate, and it's good. But I am looking for good people that would start accelerator schools. And again, it could be almost anywhere. I told you about the facility requirement. If you want to do that, respect the education part of it. You can scramble a little bit if you don't hire the right coaches or coach at the time. You can fix that a lot easier. But you can't get your kids academically behind. It's very difficult to catch up. And again, lessons learned of evolving. We're in year 7. We're in multiple locations. We've made our share of mistakes. Luckily, not too many, and none catastrophic. So, but it's also not for the faint of heart. You have to sell something without a track record, unless you're a part of our organization or something similar. We're not the only ones that do this, but to do it by yourself, again, be careful. But I'd be glad to entertain the option. We're again looking to expand. It takes a little bit of capital, especially in years 1 and 2 when you don't have enough students to break even. You have to be ready for that, and then you're always under pressure to improve your quality to get the next year's group of students either to stay with you or to get a new ones as the ones move on to graduation or other things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. And where can the viewers connect with you or learn more about AS?
Acceleratorschool.com. And again, if you would post my email, terryransbury@gmail.com or terry.ransbury@acceleratorschool.com, my phone number. I'd be glad to talk to anybody that wants to be involved. Also, there's another role that you could play if you want to help out. If you're a specialist at something, and we are looking for guest speakers all the time to enhance the education just beyond the core math, science, English language arts, history stuff, to also add practical information, whether it's a form of a mini class or a lecture on, and again, we have speakers that come in and talk about their business. They talk about their profession. I do some instruction I've done on software coding. I did a Shark Tank series one year that went over pretty well. But there's people that can contribute that way. You can do it to your own school. It doesn't have to be an accelerator school too. And I encourage you to do that. You've got something to share, and it may strike a passion in some kid, and that's all it takes, that little spark of passion. And then you got to get out of the way and just help the kid as best you can as they pursue and gobble up that opportunity because it's something they want to do, not because they're forced to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then lastly, any last advice for parents, in the soccer world that think they have the next Messi, or they have locally, or think that they have the best kid, around in SoCal or North Carolina, whatever it is, like from your point of view now, what you've seen, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I think there should be a sign posted above every soccer field that says, parents, your one and only job today is to make sure your child has fun and continues to play the game. You probably don't have the next Messi. Again, he's my favorite player, by the way. And, I'm going to need counseling when he actually retires, I think. I record all the PSG games. I've I watched almost all of them. I watched, countless Barcelona games. It's unlikely your son or daughter is the next Messi or Messi equivalent. Okay, that's one thing. Again, you want them to play because, nobody on their tombstone says, I wish I would have worked more. But everyone wants to play more. And the things that you can get from the soccer environment that help you in life, the playing on a team under pressure. I have another life in medical devices, and I love to hire athletes because they've experienced pressure and they either have learned to succeed under pressure, or they got better, even if they failed, but they're better at that. And there's pressure in every profession there is. And those people that have that experience, I think, do better. You make friends for life. Some of my teammates on my track college experience, my best man was on my track team. He's someone I talked to. I'm going to go to my 40th year reunion, hard as that is for me to believe. But again, through the sport and there's so much to enjoy if you embrace the soccer community, multiculturalism experience, the travel. The soccer is everywhere, and you can have a good time going to pubs and watching games, which I do when I travel. I go on business trips. I always try and catch a game, or in person, I'll buy a ticket, and the things I've seen are just crazy and so much fun and life enhancing that you got to try it. But it starts with keeping your kid happy about playing and wanting to play tomorrow, and nobody cares if they won the 8-year-old and under tournament on, I don't care who's there. It could be an international thing. Nobody, by the time they're 10, nobody cares. It's a big deal at the time, and it's fun. And I was into that too, but enjoy it. And I can tell you, when your son goes over far away and I lose the video feed, I can't watch him play. And that changed me. And, I have less tendency to correct the referee call and things like that, and again, here's another thing that, and it unfortunately needs to be said. I don't come to you, parent, to your law practice and tell you how to do law. Why would you expect to tell the coach how to coach soccer? These coaches are dedicated. First of all, if they're volunteer parents, you've got no business yelling at them. I mean, you should be thanking them that you don't have to be out there embarrassing yourself as your team can't play. So, but these people are the professional, and you go to the convention and where I met you, and I got to tell you, Walter is a passionate guy. He does things. You just had another 3-for-3 tournament, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the pictures, and again, you do it for all the right reasons. And this is not, he's above average, and so. But typical, these coaches want to do that, and they're passionate about what they're doing. And so go easy on them and help them. That they travel and they need supervision at the hotel and the meals. And you can be the best help, or you can be a big pain. Don't be the pain. It's easy, and you'll have a better time. And again, sit back and enjoy what you're seeing, because it's finite. And it's going to end someday, and it hasn't for me, thank God, yet. But when it happens, and I've got a very good friend who had a son playing baseball, and he said, Terry, enjoy every game, because there's a last one coming. And after that last one, you would give anything to have another one.
Wow.
As a parent. And I believe that. And I'm worried about Messi retiring someday, but I'm also my son and my older one's done. And I'm just trying to figure out how to have my youngest son play till I'm 110 years old. And then I can't understand who it is on the TV anymore.
Yeah.
Or in person or whatever, but enjoy it. And
Yeah.
that's your job, is to make, as a parent, enjoy it. If you want to, take them to the next level, I mean, you do that because you do anything for your kid, as we all do. But be reasonable and learn to love it. And again, I'm
Yeah. Time.
dreading that
Can't
day.
get time back. Absolutely.
You can't get it back. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. The last thing, any books you'd recommend for anybody watching, whether it's a player, parent, entrepreneur, maybe one of your, it doesn't need to be soccer related, but anything that you would recommend to anyone?
Oh, soccer related, I really like the 343 guys. They're coaching. They have a parent program. I signed up for the coaching just because I got turned on to it by a friend long ago, and actually sent my son out to Southern California from Raleigh to go. They had a couple of camps they did way back when, and changed our trajectory tremendously. They have a program, and I signed up for the coaches just to learn more about the game. There's plenty of stuff online if you go in with an open mind about, if you want to learn more about coaching philosophy. It's all over social media now. And I don't want to pick out any one particular one, because I look at tons of them, and I try and go through the links, and I just try and understand a little bit more about what the coach is thinking, and appreciate why they're doing what they do. If you're an entrepreneur, there's a very old book that changed my life. There's two of them. In Search of Excellence by Tom Peters. It's very outdated now, but I stumbled on it by total accident. I think it was divine intervention. It made me realize I was an entrepreneur. And then if you are an entrepreneur, I would recommend Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm, another old book, but it explains a lot about market dynamics and personalities and why people are one type or the other. Everybody's got value. There's, risk takers, and there's very risk averse people, but they're all part of the economy of any given field: soccer, medicine, bridge building, whatever, grocery stores. It all makes sense, and it's there. And again, the more you expose yourself, the more ideas you'll do it. But there's no better teacher than trying it and failing and learning from your failure. Whether it's, so try and see. Yeah. You'll survive it. If you don't, well, you go out in a blaze of glory. It's good.
If not, you'll just learn something, right? You learn what not to do if it doesn't go well, right?
It's a good teacher. Yep. Yeah. It's taught us at Accelerator School. It'll teach you in everything, soccer coaching, whatever. But then talk to people, and don't be afraid to ask them about why they're doing what they're doing. And again, some people are nervous about that, but it's not always. 90% of the time, it's a very good experience, and you go, geez, I should do more of this. Well, do it. It doesn't cost you anything. Just try it and see what happens. Meet guys like Walter. He'll change your attitude about things. He's a good. You're doing things for the right reason, Walter. I know that you're doing a lot of donated time, and that's the most valuable asset we have in life is the time that we spend. And I know I've learned a little bit about you and what you do, and it's too bad there's not more people like you in the world. It would be a lot better place.
I appreciate that, trying to impact as many as we can together, and do it for the right reasons. And I appreciate, again, you being on, you sharing the story of AS, you sharing your story as a parent as well, the advice you've given to everyone. We appreciate your time, and thank you so much, Terry, for being on and for sharing so much value. So thank you again.
Totally my pleasure.
All right, Terry, thank you. Have a good one, and I'll share all the notes in the page. So hopefully everybody found value, and we'll definitely connect and have everybody reach out if they have more questions. Thanks again.
Always available. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Terry. Thanks.